Hari Om. Suvarna Bhagini, you can start.
Namaskar, madam.
Namaskar.
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णौ वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततत्कतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। नमो नमः। धन्यवाद भगिनी।
धन्यवादः भगिनी। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यम् श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमतास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तमलकं च शिष्यम् तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So, consolidating the teaching given in all the previous chapters, Lord Krishna is covering all the important teachings of Vedanta here in the 18th chapter. Interestingly, today as I was going over the slides, I just realized that we are connecting back to so many of the concepts that we discussed in Introduction to Vedanta. And I thought it would be nice for me to give you all the references. And if you do have the time, please spend some time this week going through each of these recordings. I think at least 3 different sessions are covered, right? So we'll see that. So all the spiritual sadhanani of a seeker are broadly divided into 2 levels. The first level is a preparatory level where the mind is made fit for the spiritual knowledge, jnana yogyata prapti. Any sadhana that is done for the mental preparation, all of them come under karma yoga only. Though we make a subtle difference in terms of, a puja or a dhyana as upasana, right? But whether it is pilgrimage, puja, whether it is service to the society, all the actions that we do physically, that is vocally, physically, verbally or mentally in the form of meditation, all of them are classified in general as karma yoga. They all will refine the mind, but none of them can give the knowledge. That is why it is called karma yoga. Then having gone through karma yoga for a sufficient length of time, continuing the karma yoga itself, gradually the seeker should start jnana yoga in the form of exposing to the Vedantic educational program, right? So once, basically on one side you refine the mind, and on the other side you continue to expose to the teaching, which is jnana yoga, consisting of shravanam, mananam and nididhyasanam. So Lord Krishna condensed the karma yoga previously by defining it as sattvika sannyasa, right? Basically it is the same old karma yoga sadhana given a new name, sattvika sannyasa. In fact, in chapter 3 we saw Sri Krishna telling that lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta mayanaga, he Arjuna, Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. So the Lord actually said that there are two distinct disciplines, Jnana yoga for the sannyasins and karma yoga for the householders, right? Basically meaning that the karma yoga produces mental refinement and jnana yogyata, which can then lead to jnana prapti itself. So now since Krishna just finished condensing karma yoga, Krishna is now condensing the jnana yoga from 13th verse up to 17th verse, which is also very, very important because this alone is the direct means to the liberation, right? So I can do, if I'm physically fit, I can do a lot of service to the society. Otherwise, I can do puja, japa, etc. We can sit inside the house and pray to get rid of, the coronavirus, so much of problems we are having around us. We can do any of those, right? But all of them come under only karma yoga, right? So, whereas when it comes to attaining moksha, there is only one sadhana. So there is multiple paths to jnana yogyata, but there is only one sadhana which everyone has to compulsorily go through, which is Guru Shastra Upadeshaha. With the help of Guru Shastra Upadeshaha, gaining knowledge of the Upanishads itself, right? And Lord Krishna said this in the 4th chapter, very important verse in 434. Tadvitti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeksyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. May you gain that knowledge by prostration, by service, and by proper inquiry. The wise sages will impart that knowledge to you. Somebody is complaining of, okay, no audio, it has come back. Okay. So, Arjuna, when you require this spiritual knowledge, ultimately you will have to take the help of Guru and Shastra, right? There is Guru without Shastram also will not help. Shastram without Guru also will not help. That is why, in fact, if people say, oh, I read Gita on my own and I understand, it is not actually correct. Our Shastras don't advise that, right? Whether it is Gita, whether it is Upanishad, whether it is any of the other Prakarana Granthas, right? So, Guru Shastra Upadesha is definitely the final lap of the spiritual journey called Jnana Yoga, and Krishna is condensing here, right? And the first lesson of Jnana Yoga is understanding every one of us is a mixture of two components, the consciousness component, Atma and Anatma. And we saw that it is exactly like the electricity principle, right? And Atma, because just like you can't see electricity, you can't see Atma also, but Atma's presence is felt, right? And we are all a mixture of both of those, right? And then we inquire and find out which is my real nature, which one is an incidental nature. On inquiry, I discover. And remembering the 2nd chapter, very beautiful verse, Vasansi jirnani yata vihaya, navani grinnati naroparani, tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani, anyani sanyati navani dehi. Vasansi jirnani, worn out clothes, worn out dress, just as we discard and we wear new dresses. The physical body is also like a dress. It is incidental, used for transactions. And once whatever it is meant for is over, we also drop that and we get a new shariram, right? Very, very strong and powerful verse, right? So, and then subsequently in the 2nd chapter, Krishna went on to give us the different facets of Atma, Nityaha, Satyaha, Akarta, Abhokta, Sarvagataha, Nirvikaraha, Aprameyaha, right? These are all descriptions of Atma. We don't use the word features or attributes. Better to stick to either descriptions or facets. Description is much better. And Aham, Akarta, Abhokta, Asmi is what is going to be focused upon in this portion. I talked about that also in the last class, right? And I am only the pure witness consciousness, right? And in my presence, the body-mind complex does all the actions, right? So we also saw that in the last verse, right, that we completed, it was compared to Krishna was actually looking at 5 different aspects, that is the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Atma itself, right? So if you see, he talked about Adhishthanam as Annamaya Kosha, Vividashcha Pritak Cheshta Pranamaya, Pritakvidam Karanam Manomaya, Karta the Vijnanamaya, and Daivam. And we saw that Daivam meaning Adhishtana Devata or Ishvara at the total level. I talked about Hiranya Garbha, right, the Sutratma, and I also showed you a diagram, right? And these are the 5 factors involved, right? We saw up to this in the last class. So this was the diagram that I showed you, right? And I talked about how all of this, right, all the individual devatas which bless the Sukshma Shariram, they all come together as part of Ishvara, right? So that is the, this here, the specific name given to Sukshma Prapancha and Sukshma God is basically Hiranyagarbha, right? We saw this in the 14th verse. Continuing. शरीरवाङ्नो बिर्यत् कर्म प्रारभते नरः शरीरवाङ्मनो बिर्यत् कर्म प्रारभते नरः न्यायं वा विपरीतं वा न्यायं वा विपरीतं वा पञ्चैते तस्य हेतवः Sharira Vang Manobhir Yat Karma Prarabhate Naraha. So these 5 factors are the necessary components for all the activities of all human beings, whether they are worldly activities or ritualistic activities. Right? So Laukikam or Shastriya, whether they are physical, verbal, vocal, mental, or meditation, right? Manasa Japa, Vachikam Karma, any of these. That is why Krishna uses the word Sharira Vang Manobhihi. Sharira means physical body, Vak means organ of speech, Manaha means the mind, right? So Manobhihi means with these instruments, Yat Karma Prarabhate. Whatever be the activity, it may be a minor activity or a major activity, or it may just be a simple puja or prayer, or it can be a big yaga. It may be dharmic action or a dharmic action, right? Basically, a doctor can use a knife to save a patient through surgery. A robber can use a knife to kill or threaten, right? So, these layers alone, therefore, Krishna says, Nyayam va. Dharmic morals or Nyayam means dharmic or Viparitam va or the opposite of moral, which is unethical, inappropriate. So Viparitam va karma naraha prarabhate, a human being does. So Lord Krishna does not include animals here. Reason is animals do things only by instinct. They don't have punya papam, right? So karma, the word is reserved for deliberate action, right? Therefore, that is why naraha, human beings, karma prarabhate. Panchayete tasya hetavaha. When a person does this, these previously mentioned 5 factors alone are responsible. Now the crucial question is, what about Atma, the Chetana Tattvam behind all these? So Krishna says, right, in verse 16 and 17, very important verses. They are the essence of Jnana Yoga, right? And they are worth meditating upon. Extremely important 16th and 17th verses. We will see what is said there. Tatraivam sati kartaram Tatraivam sati kartaram Atmanam kevalam tuyaha Atmanam kevalam tuyaha Pashyat krita buddhitvat Pashyatyakೃತ buddhitvat na sa pashyati durmatihi. Na sa pashyati durmatihi. Pashyati akrita buddhitvat. Okay. Here Krishna asked the question, what is the role of Atma or Chetana Tattvam? Atma is required or not? When the body-mind complex is performing karma, Atma's presence is it required, right? Now, if that is the question, suppose Atma is not there, what would happen to the body-mind complex? It will be dead. Therefore, no action can be done independently by the body-mind complex. Therefore, the presence, the proximity or the blessing of the Atma is required. There is no doubt about it. Even though Atma is present and even though the Atma blesses the body with life, because of its mere presence, Krishna wants to say, Atma does not willfully or deliberately perform any action by itself. It is present, but it does not participate. The light is present, right? Exactly like in the sunlight outside. A person may be doing a good action. In the same sunlight, another person may be doing a bad action, like maybe picking somebody's pocket or whatever, right? So one may do a good action, another may do a bad action. Light was present, without which the action could not have taken place. Even though light's blessing is required, we can't pull the light up and say you are responsible for picking the pocket of someone, right? And we'll put you in jail. It doesn't work that way, right? Light is involved or not if anyone asks, right? It is present but not involved. Similarly, like a movie screen, right? Whether it is present or not, if you ask if a screen is a participant, without the screen you cannot see the movie, right? So similarly, Atma is a noble one, and without the blessing of the Atma, right, nothing can happen. Therefore, technically, Atma, right, is exactly like the light. It becomes akarta and abhokta. It is akarta and abhokta, even though it makes the body karta bhokta. So it makes the body karta bhokta, remaining itself as akarta abhokta. Therefore, the real I, to distinguish, we are using the term real I here, because the normal I, whenever you say, you get attached to the body-mind complex, right? So therefore, the regular I, the conventional I, is karta and bhokta. The real I, which is about which we are ignorant, and when we come to Vedanta, we understand, and a jnani never forgets the real I, and he knows that the real I is akarta and abhokta. So the aim of Vedanta is to help us claim the higher I, even when the conventional I is involved in activity. Just as an actor should never forget that he is an actor, even when he is playing different roles, right? He might have to embrace someone. He may have to fight someone sometimes, right? Some stunts, etc., right? But he remembers that he is an actor in and through that. So Vedanta, what does it want to say, right? Is that we have to make our life also such a universal drama which we have to play because of, right, Ishvara. Ishvara is the Sutradhari. Sutradhari means he places in different situations. Why? When he's administering the law of karma, right? Sometimes Dharma Sankatam, right? Look at Bhishma's Dharma Sankatam. He knew that the Kauravas were wrong and the Pandavas were on the right, and they were dharmic, but he had no choice because he was in apariharya, choiceless situations happen, right? So he cannot escape from such dharma sankatas also. It is a difficult situation. So human beings should remember that the real I am akarta, abhokta, and Krishna says whoever does not know this fact, they are all unfortunate people. They are trapped in life because karta has limited knowledge, limited resources, right? Limited power. That is why many occasions, once you have children especially, you observe, you can raise them in a certain way, but you will realize at some point in time the helplessness. because you can only advise, you can recommend, but beyond that, they will take their own decisions and move on, right? So everybody goes through tension during adolescent stage, during entrance exams, during 12th standard board exams, right? So, and parents go from temple to temple, right? So, as Swamiji says, from helplessness stems anger, and from anger stems frustration, and from frustration it is depression, and often life becomes a burden, right? So if you should confront life without it being burdened, we should remember that the kartrutvam is a costume. I am a karta behind the costume, the real I, right? So Krishna strongly condemns these ignorant people. Very strong words he uses. He says, Yaha durmatihi, right? Durmatihi, an unintelligent, foolish person. Even though he has been given Guru, Shastra, Bhagavan, etc., right? Durmatihi means Ajnani, Aviveki, Akrita Buddhitvat, because of a non-refined intellect, Akrita Buddhi, right? So, Pashyati Akrita Buddhitvat, right? So, Akrita Buddhi means Asakrit Buddhihi, Asamskrita Buddhihi, right? So, means Asamskrita Buddhihi, means non-enlightened intellect, which means what? Ajnanam. Because of this Ajnanam, the real of the real Atma, right? So he is suffering. The consciousness is unconnected to the body or any of the Anatma. So exactly like the light, right? Therefore, Kevalam Atmanam, even though it is free from karma, kartaram manyate, the ignorant person looks upon himself as a karta. That means the role becomes himself. So, Atmanam kartaram manyate. Therefore, the tension increases, stress increases, right? And there is no remedy at all. Therefore, Atmanam kartaram yaha manyate evam sati. In spite of that, right? This wonderful teaching being available, kartaram pashyati, right? Saha na pashyati, right? So he does not see the fact, real fact about himself, right? So this is condemnation of Ajnani. Now Krishna wants to glorify those enlightened people who study the Gita intelligently and who assimilate the teaching and who remember the akarta nature in and through worldly transactions, which helps me maintain my balance of mind. So it is a contrast of Ajnani's attitude towards himself and Jnani's attitude towards himself. Yasya nahankrito bhavah, Yasya nahankrito bhavah, Buddhiryasya na lipyate, Buddhiryasya na lipyate, Hatvapi saiman lokan, Hatvapi saiman lokan, Nahanti na binibhadyate, Nahanti na nibhadyate. On the other hand, wise person is one who does not look upon himself, right, as karta or bhokta, right? So he looks upon himself as a non-doer and a non-reaper of the result also. So yasya, for which jnani, ahankrita bhavaha, means kartrutva bhavaha, right? I am the doer notion is not there, right? Even though for worldly transactions, he will use worldly language, right? If somebody asks him his name, he will give his name, right? He will not say, I am a karta, bhokta, etc. Right? Worldly transactions, and jnani will say, I did this, I did that, I am so and so, etc. Right? So, na buddhi veda janayet, right? He will use the language of the world when it is required, right? But, right? So, you will use the appropriate language as an Ajnani would do, right? But when he is in private, he knows, right, that he is actually his higher nature, which is I am a karta. Therefore, ahankrita bhavaha yasya jnaninaha nasti, right? So he is a jnani and he does not have his own worldly needs. He doesn't have any ultimate goal to accomplish, because the ultimate goal he has already accomplished. All his activities are for what? For loka sangraha. So for the sake of the family, if he is a householder jnani, right? And even if he's employed somewhere, right, he will play different roles, right? He does not have any need, but he will still play the roles. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. He will be reveling in his own higher nature. Personally, he is always purnaha. He does not require anything for his own fulfillment. Therefore, he performs the duty according to necessity. Ahankrito bhavaha. And when he performs the duty, whatever he does will bring consequences also, right? Now, the children may acknowledge, sometimes they may not acknowledge, right? We might have done everything with good intentions, right? Sometimes they don't like the course in which we would have put, or sometimes they don't like the way in which we had brought up. All of this can happen, right? So brickbats as well as bouquets, both of them will come from others. Similarly, profession, right? So similarly, other family members. Therefore, yasya buddhi na lipyate. He is not affected by those favorable or unfavorable consequences, right? Sometimes if the jnani happens to be a kshatriya, like Arjuna here, Krishna is keeping Arjuna in mind, a kshatriya jnani may have to fight a war as part of the duty. Then he has to fight, kill, etc. Right? The killing action for a soldier does not produce papa, right? So even though he fights, say, a terrorist or across the border, he may die fighting also, right? So we honor them, Paramveer Chakra, Mahavir Chakra, etc. Right? So a jnani also similarly does any action. A Kshatriya jnani may be involved in war also, right? Not as an individual karta bhokta, right? But as a part of a family or society, whatever role he has to play, he will do. Therefore, his actions will not produce punyam or papam. And just as soldiers killing or murder will not produce any adverse results, similarly, Krishna says, Iman lokan hatva api. Even if a jnani, because of the call of the duty as a kshatriya, remember Arjuna, because it's a context here, not that we all have to kill somebody, right? Here, Arjuna is involved as a kshatriya. Iman lokan hatva api Arjuna. Arjuna, you don't incur papam, na hanti. Really speaking, he's not killing. He's an akarta, na nibadhyate. He's a bhokta also. So the generator of punyam and papam, right, is only when ahankara is involved, right? So no pavam or punyam is accrued for this person, right? So just like, you know, a mentally challenged person, whatever the person does, nothing is, he's not responsible for all of that, right? So similarly, a jnani, right, who is an akarta abhokta, right, in his mind, he is always abiding in his higher nature, right? And in fact, we should understand the example properly. Shankaracharya also gives an example. Ramate balon mattavadeva. That is, bala means like a baby, and unmata means a mentally deranged person. Both the examples are given by Shankaracharya for a jnani to indicate that he does not have any selfish motive. They're very innocent, right, in their thoughts. So whatever he does is for loka sangraha only. Therefore, he does not acquire agami punya papam, na hanti, na nibadhyate, right? So after that, he's going to introduce a new discussion, right, which is again a summarization of the last chapters, previous chapters, only in a slightly different format. Jnanam jneyam parijñāta, jnanam jneyam parijñāta, trividha karma chodana, trividha karma chodana, karanam karma karteti, karanam karma karteti, trividha karma sangraha, trividha karma sangraha. As an introduction, Lord Krishna says that all human transactions can be broadly classified into two types, right? Throughout the waking hours, we are involved in varieties of transaction, and all the transactions beginning from the waking time up to going to bed, we are continuously involved in transactions, and all of them can be in two varieties. The first point is making. One is karma vyavahara, those transactions in which we are involved in action with the help of pancha karmendriyani. We are using our karmendriyani, instruments of action, right? Vak, pani, pada, payu and upastha, the organ of speech. It's better that you all revise Introduction to Vedanta, because I've covered all of these in detail. I've given you the references also. Vak, organ of speech, pani, hands, pada, legs, payu means organ of excretion, upastha means organ of reproduction. So these are the 5 karmendriyani which we are involved in any transaction, in any action. The pancha karmendriyani are responsible for the karma vyavahara, right? So next we basically organ of speech, continuously we are involved in speaking or in one of the other activities, right? Similarly, for knowing or acquiring knowledge, right, there are organs of knowledge called jnanendriyani, right? Shrotram, the ears, then chakshu, the eyes, then nose, tongue and the skin. Ears for knowing sound and speech, ears are for knowing the sound, eyes for seeing, nose for smelling, tongue for tasting and skin for touching or feeling the touch. These are the 5 instruments through which we gather knowledge, right? Now, based on this observation, if I make some inference, that will also come under jnana vyavahara. Like a doctor, he reads the medical report, eyes are receiving the report, right? But then he makes a report, he makes an inference, right? And that is also jnana vyavahara only. Thus, karmendriyani are used for karma vyavahara, backed by prana shakti, the breath. And jnanendriyani based jnana vyavahara is backed by the mind backed jnana vyavahara and prana backed karma vyavahara. That is why you can do action without your mind, but if the mind is not behind the jnanendriyam, then that knowledge doesn't take place. Very subtle observation, right? So listening is jnana vyavahara, writing is karma vyavahara, right? So this is the first point. Then the next question is, between the two vyavaharas, which is the foundation and which is founded on the other? Which is more fundamental? Which vyavahara is more fundamental, right? Krishna says jnana vyavahara is more fundamental, because first you see the surroundings and based on the setup and situation, you develop a desire to do something. So basically you will be able to understand now, when you wake up, you want to see the time. So you have the desire to know the time. Therefore, what do? You bring the clock nearby. Therefore, the order is janati. A person knows the surrounding. Ichati, then he develops a desire to do something. And yatate, based on the type of desire, I wake up, I go to the kitchen to have a coffee, right? So that's the janati, ichati, yatate, right? Therefore, always the sequence is important, and it is discussed elaborately in Tarka Shastra, right? Knowing, desiring, and then acting, right? So Krishna says jnana vyavahara is the trigger, the cause for karma vyavahara. So jnana vyavahara is karanam, karma vyavahara is karyam. So jnana vyavahara is the cause and karma vyavahara is the effect, right? This is the second point, right? So two vyavaharas is the first point, and one is cause, the other is effect is the second point. Then the next point Krishna says is both vyavaharas require 3 factors each. Both transactions require what we call triputi, a triad consisting of 3 factors, right? Jnanam requires the knower, the knowable, or the known, right? So a subject is required, right, as a knower. An object is required to be known, right? If there is no object to be known, there is no transaction. So there is a subject, there is an object, right? Then there is an instrument with which you gather the knowledge. So the 5 sense organs are the instruments and they are based, right? So the inference also becomes an instrument. Thus we use the different instruments for knowing, right? In fact, just now we enumerated the instruments also. And then we also saw the Shat Pramanani in Introduction to Vedanta, right? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi. That's what I've marked in green here. You could look at this, right? 27th minute, I've covered this quite elaborately, right? So now it may make sense. At that time, you may not have related to it, right? So these are all the instruments or the pramanam, right? So this is the triputi leading to the jnana vyavaharaha, right? So the subject, the object, and the instruments, right? Pramata, Prameyam, and Pramanam. Let's not get into this into the Sanskrit names because we might end up getting confused. Subject, object, right? And the instrument of knowledge. So in the same way, Karma Vyavahara also involves a triputi. The doer, the object on which the action is done, right? And the instrument, right? For the action. Suppose you're lifting something, right? Then you are the subject. The object that you're lifting becomes the object. And the instrument, my hand, is the instrument. Therefore, Karta, Karma, Karanam. Karta is the subject. Karma is the object, right? Here. And Karanam is the instrument. Therefore, Karma Vyavahara involves Triputi. Jnana Vyavahara also involves Triputi, right? So much of discussion is there in our Shastra, right? So here if you see, Jnanam, Jneyam, Parijnata. So Parijnata means knower. Jneyam means known or knowable. Jnanam means knowledge. Trividan, these 3, the triad of 3. Karma Chodana, these are the cause for triggering action. Right? Chodana is the triggering factor, the instigating factor, the impelling factor. Right? So, therefore, the knowing triputi is the instigator for the doing triputi. Right? This is the first one. The second one is Karanam Karma Karta. The second triputi which is required for Karma Vyavahara consisting of Karta, the doer, Karma, the object, right? And Karanam, the instrument, right? If you want to eat, you are the subject Karta. What is to be eaten? The food, the rice is the Karma, and the Karanam is the instrument of eating, like a hand, mouth, etc. Trividaha. So thus Krishna has introduced 6 factors involved in our entire transaction. This is the introduction. Then having introduced these 6 factors, Krishna wants to pick up 3 factors from the 6. Having taken 3 factors, he is going to divide each one of them into Satvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. This is the introduction part. So he's going to only pick 3 out of these 6. And in these 3, he is going to cover Satvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. So Krishna still is, continuing his 17th chapter kind of structure, right? So we are going to get 3 into 3, 9 topics, right? We are going to discuss from now. Jnanam karma cha karta cha, Jnanam karma cha karta cha, Tridaiva guna bhedataha, Tridaiva guna bhedataha, Prochyate guna sankyane, Prochyate guna sankyane, yatavat shrunutânyapi, yatavat shrunutânyapi. So what are the three factors he selects? One is jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge, which is the result of jnana vyavahara, right? By knowing transaction, we gather so much of knowledge, right? So regularly and continuously, we are gathering knowledge, right? And this is broadly classified into Sattvika knowledge, Rajasika knowledge, and Tamasika knowledge. Therefore, Jnanam Gunabedataha, Trida eva Gunabedataha means based on Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, it is threefold. Similarly, karma, the action which is generated by the karma triputi, the action in the shloka, right? The karma should be translated as action here. In the previous shloka, we translated karma as object. In this shloka, we have to treat it as action, right? So action are three types: Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika, right? So we now have a method by which we can assess, right? Which is important, right? Therefore, karma trida bhavati, and karta. Karta means the doer of the action. The karta is also threefold, right? Threefold action, threefold doer, and all these classifications is done in a particular way, and in certain shastras it is done even more, right? So Krishna says guna sankhyane. Okay, there is a philosophical system called Sankhya Darshanam. You may remember I covered all of this in detail in Introduction to Vedanta. Because Krishna is referring to Sankhya, I thought it is better for me to just bring that slide back here. Okay. So Krishna says Guna Sankhyane. There is a philosophical system called Sankhya Darshanam, and in our culture there are 12 philosophical systems called Darshanani, right? 6 of them are atheistic Darshanam, and 6 of them are called, basically, one is atheistic, Nastika, and the other is Astika. This is based on the philosophical systems which accept our scriptures as a valid source of knowledge. So 6 Nastika darshanams, atheistic darshanams, they don't accept Veda Pramana. They say we don't want to go by the scriptures, we want to rely on our intellect. Why should I study somebody else's writings? Is their attitude, right? Thus, there are philosophical systems rejecting Veda Pramanam. They are called Nastika Darshanani. So, these are the Nastika Darshanani, right? Buddhism, Jainism, Charvaka, right? So, the materialistic Darshanam is Charvaka. The 6 Nastika Darshanams are there, and then there are 6 Astika Darshanams which accept Veda as the Pramanam. All of these accept Veda as a Pramanam, right? So, very, very important. So, they are called Astika Darshanani or Vaidika Darshanani. They were prevalent during Shankara's time, right? So, Sankhya, Yoga, Jnana, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. Sankhya Darshanam was founded by Kapila Muni, Yoga Darshanam by Patanjali Muni, right? And this one, Nyaya Darshanam by Gautama Rishi, Vaisheshika Darshanam by Kanada Rishi, Purva Mimamsa Darshanam by Jaimini Rishi, Uttara Mimamsa Darshanam of Vyasa Maharishi. Now we are following Uttara Mimamsa of Vyasa Bhagavan. The glory of our great Rishi is that even when they had their own profound philosophy, they do borrow ideas from other darshanams. They are all open-minded people, right? Here you find we are borrowing this guna-based division based on Sankhya darshanam, and here it is said guna sankhyane prochyate. Guna sankhyane means Sankhya darshane, right? So the 3 gunas are highlighted in Sankhya philosophy, and this classification is useful for our sadhana. Therefore, we are incorporating that, right? Of course, with proper adaptation. Okay. So if you see, this is what we, in keeping with Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa Darshanam, to suit our Darshanam, we make some appropriate adaptation, right? But because Vyasa Maharishi belongs to this green portion, right? And we are Advaitas, Advaitins, right? So, but he still borrows from Sankhya. That is very important, right? So, Guna Sankhyane Prochyate Arjuna Yatavat Tani Api Shrunu. May you listen to this classification also, because it is very useful for spiritual assessment of ourselves, right? Useful for self-assessment. Therefore, may you listen to and understand as I teach. Yatavat, properly understand. Right? This is the introduction to the following shlokas. Right? Now, this is in the very first talk of introduction to Vedanta. I have spoken about Vedanta Darshanams. If you want, you can take a look at it. Sarvabhuteshu yenaikam, Sarvabhuteshu yenaikam, Bhavamavyayamikshate, Bhavamavyayamikshate, Avibhaktam vibhakteshu, Avibhaktam vibhakteshu, Tajnanam viddhi satvikam, Tajnanam viddhi satvikam. In the previous shloka, Krishna enumerated 3 factors: Jnanam, knowledge, action, and doer. Each one is going to be divided into 3. Therefore, the following 9 shlokas from 20th onwards, that is going to be the subject matter. Satvika Jnanam, Rajasa Jnanam, Tamasa Jnanam, Satvika Karma, Rajasa Karma, Tamasa Karma, Satvika Karta, Rajasa Karta, Tamasa Karta. So this will be the 9 shlokas defining these 9 items. So first one he takes up is Satvika knowledge. And Lord Krishna says, spiritual knowledge alone is Satvika knowledge, right? So, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, the entire creation, right? How does it come about, etc., right? Who is this God, the creator, and who am I confronting this creation? So we call it Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. And according to Vedanta, behind all these 3, there is only one essential truth, right? The Nama and Rupa can be different, right? Advaita Satyam is the ultimate truth, and knowledge of the truth is only Satvika Jnanam. So Satvika Jnanam is only one, Advaita Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam. That alone is ultimate, and this is called Satvika because that action liberates a person directly. Therefore, he is going to define Satvika Jnanam. Yena ikshate, that knowledge through which one becomes aware of one's truth. Ekam bhavam, right? Bhavam here means satyam or reality, right? Because bhava comes from bhavati iti bhavaha. That alone is, right? That alone is, just as you handle ornaments, but you know that gold alone is, right? Ornaments are nothing but nama rupa. So the plurality is appearance, right? And non-duality is the truth. So Krishna says ekam, right? One truth alone, sarva bhuteshu. It's available in everything and being, right? I exist and I am aware of my existence, right? So, but for instance, in the case of wall and all other, jadam objects, we know that exists, but that does not have the consciousness that it exists, right? That's the difference between a living being like me and, say, a wall, right? So wall exists, but wall is not aware of its existence, right? So it has got existence, but the awareness is not manifested. So sarva bhuteshu, it is available in the form of existence and consciousness principle. Not only that, avyayam, right? Everything is changing. Body is changing, mind is changing, whole thing is changing, right? But the isness alone doesn't change. So Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. Our body is continuously changing from babyhood to boyhood to youth to middle age to old age. Everything is changing. But I was conscious as a baby, as a youth, as an old person, right? That awareness, consciousness, Sat Chit Atma is the changeless reality, right? So in Mundaka Upanishad, it is called Paravidya, right? Ata parayaya tadaksharam adigamyate. There the truth is called Aksharam, here it is Avyayam, right? So Avyayam Ekam Bhavam Ikshate. One understands, because it is very abstract, because we are not able to think of easiness in its pure form. We can understand a wall is, but a mic is, like the computer is. But the existence itself is so abstract when you try to separate it. Similarly, a conscious body we are able to understand. We say body is conscious, but when I talk about consciousness as a principle separated from the body, it becomes too abstract. Okay? That is why Krishna said in the 12th chapter, Kleshodikara adikataraha kleshodikatarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam, in the 5th shloka of the 12th chapter. So Arjuna, and he says avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad viravapyate. Arjuna, you have to prepare a mind a lot to appreciate the ultimate reality, right? So to appreciate this non-dual reality, avibhaktam vibhakteshu, in all the objects in the creation, right? You can see all the divisions everywhere, multiple divisions, right? Wherever you see, I see divisions everywhere, right? But among all the divisions, right, the truth that pervades is undivided. And two examples are given in the 13th chapter, if you remember. One was Ahakasha, the space itself can never be divided, right? And the light, Prakasha, which is pervading this hall, the room, right? Avibhaktam, right? That indivisible light or indivisible space. Sat and Chit is Avibhaktam. Avibhaktam means Akhandam, undivided, indivisible is the Atma, right? So that knowledge, the truth about this abstract existence and consciousness, whichever knowledge apprehends that knowledge, that Paravidya, which is Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, right? Such a jnanam is Satvika jnanam, right? Very, very important aspect Krishna is talking about. Now Krishna talks about Rajasa jnanam. Pritatvena tu yajnanam, Pritatvena tu yajnanam, Nana bhavan pritagvidhan, Nana bhavan pritagvidhan, Veti sarveshu bhuteshu, Veti sarveshu bhuteshu, Tajnanam viddhi rajasam. So here Krishna clearly says, Dvaita Jnanam, the knowledge of duality, the knowledge of plurality, the knowledge of division taken as end in itself is Rajasic knowledge. Our sense organs are designed to perceive duality only, and not only the sense organs perceive duality, it keeps on dividing everything further. So if you take a human being, he is divided into many parts, right? So you go to any medical discipline, the doctor will talk about so many sub-disciplines, right? For eye ophthalmologist, then within the eye retinologist, etc., right? So much of subdivisions will be there, right? So, and we miss the ultimate one. So there are many philosophers who talk about the Atma behind the individual, right? They have left the material world and they talk about the Atma, which is other than the body, other than the mind, other than the sense organs. There are certain systems of philosophy like Sankhya, Yoga, Jnana, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsaka. They all come to Atma. Very interesting. They all understand that there is an Atma, right? But the tragedy is that they say that Atmas are also many. they say that each one has got a separate Atma. So if there are 10 people in this room, each of the 10 people has a unique Atma, which is associated with each of them. That is what all these philosophies talk about, right? And Krishna strongly condemns those systems of philosophy. And the most unfortunate thing is the study of, they also study Vedanta, right? And Vedanta talks about Atma Ekatvam, Eko Devaha Sarva Bhuteshu, right? You see in the Upanishads, right? Clearly it reveals that the Atma is one, Advitiyam, etc. But Krishna strongly criticizes these other philosophers, right? That the wrong knowledge, right? They have misconceived in spite of the study of the scriptures, right? Here the word bhavaha means Atma, Nana Bhavan means Nana Atmanaha, many Atmanaha they talk about. Not only they say Atmas are many, Pritak Vidan, they say each Atma has got its own different attributes. Happy Atma, unhappy Atma, disturbed Atma, Punya Atma, etc. Upanishad clearly says Atma Nirgunaha. Atma is without any attributes, right? So Atma is Nirgunaha, and these people say Atma is Sagunaha. So Pritag Videna Pashyati. They see the difference in attributes and therefore differences in the Atma, and therefore the plurality of Atma they see. So Sarveshu Bhuteshu. They say that these different Atmanaha are in different bodies. Here Sarveshu Bhuteshu means Sarveshu Sharireshu. Bhutam means body here, right? So that Jnanam, this misperception of plurality is Rajasika knowledge, and as they say, divided we fall, united we stand. So these people manage to divide even the Atma. This is Rajasic knowledge. So the next one is Tamasic knowledge, which we will do in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There's a question here. So the real I is a witness to the karma of the participant actor. So can the real I not discourage attracting bad karma? No. I was just explaining that Atma is without any guna, without any attribute. It is a witness, exactly like the light and space. They won't be able to do anything. They can only be silent spectators, right? Without light, you cannot see what's happening in the room, but the light itself cannot influence the happening in the room, right? Very similar to that is Atma. Atma is the witness consciousness. It cannot do anything. It is nirgunaha. Therefore, it is akarta, abhokta. It cannot influence, right? So that is the answer to that question. Is the Atma of a sage and terrorist the same? I think I explained just now. All the other 5 philosophies, that picture that I showed you, Sankhya, Nyaya, all of them, they all believe in multiple Atmas behind individuals, right? But the Uttara Mimamsa, Vyasa's, right, the philosophy, we have Advitiya Atma, only one Advaita Atma, which is the witness consciousness across all the different Sharirams. So claiming that higher nature, I, is what was talked about as Sattvika Jnanam. Which is a good Bhagavad Gita book for me? Actually, Swamiji has given very simple meanings for each of the verses, which is what I put into the slides. So you can use their word by word meaning is also there. Otherwise, you can also buy Pujya Swamiji's Gita series, Dayananda Saraswati Swamiji's Gita series. You will enjoy that because The parampara is the same, and very beautiful set of books. By Swami Paramarthananda also there are a set of 3 books which you can purchase and you can use. Okay. A couple of announcements. One is I just wanted to say that I had a talk last week, breaking the myth Vedanta is a nice post-retirement hobby. This is the YouTube link. In case any of you wish to listen to it, you can listen to it. It is available on the net now. And this question on what next, because many people have this doubt after Gita. Now, people who are very serious and who want to pursue this path ahead, right? We can take up Upanishads one after the other, but we are not sure about the mode in which we will be offering that, because we don't know whether we will do it with a public go-to-webinar and a public putting up of the recordings, or how we would do it. But you can write to me in case you are interested. So I've given the email ID here. And the second part is Prakarana Grantaha. We could be doing anything like Tattva Bodha or Atma Bodha or Sadhana Panchakam. The simpler text we can start. So whatever it is, if you're interested, please do write a mail to me, because we are just in the planning stages and we may be able to take your inputs on this. I just wanted to announce this also. So this is the email ID. You can send it to these IDs. It will be there in the PDF also, which we will be uploading onto the site. So next week, Sunday only class. After that, we will have 2 classes per week. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? Let me just see. I don't see any. Okay. Nilanjana Mahoday, you're self-muted. You asked me some questions, so I don't know whether I've answered.
Yeah, you did. Am I audible?
Yes, very much.
So I seem to be having too many questions today. So instead of typing, I thought, let me ask you. See, the first thing is, many people tell me, like you said, that it's a post-retirement hobby, because I'm very seriously studying a lot of our texts. A lot of people tell me, that this is the time to focus on your career and stuff like that. And, all this, you're wasting time. This is I'm doing it in my own time, but still people seem to be having a point of view about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your YouTube video will it help me answer that question? Because nowadays, because of COVID.
Absolutely. Okay. Please do go through it. And if you have particular questions on, yes, managing time is a challenge. So that we have to do, but it is important to get exposed, and how much, at what level. If you want any personal, discussions with me, do drop in a mail and I can always talk to you. Not a problem.
Okay, that was the first question. Second is, in one of the sessions in Vedanta, you had said that when we are on this path, what happens is the FIR, reduces and the CCC increases, which is what I have essentially tried and observed. It's through the course of these classes. Now, yes, the FIR has definitely reduced. I mean, it's I think compared to what it used to be 2-3 years back to where it is now, there is a huge difference, which I myself notice. And so do, my family and all. But still, when there is something unpleasant that happens, and currently, in the last year and this year, we see a lot of unethical things in the work front and stuff like that. It is not that I am always very objective and equanimous about it, because many a times, I feel very bad. And then what you essentially say is a bad vibration, in Hindi. I mean, I may not curse the person, but what is said, Hai Lagna, in Hindi, there is this saying called Hai Lagna. So that is a very normal reaction, because one has felt very bad about something that has happened. Whether it's professional or personal, that's I think, I mean, kind of feeling bad is the same either way. So how does one handle it? Because knowledge tells me that this is either my karma playing back, or I should take it equanimously, and this is Ishwar Prasadam, and all that at an intellectual level is understandable. But when you feel bad and when you are feeling bad, I mean, at that point, recovery is fast. I used to previously feel bad for 2 days. Now it's maybe maximum half an hour. But how does one tackle this feeling bad and feeling low for at least say half an hour, if for argument's sake?
When you hit a plateau in this journey, right, it only means, I'm again being general. If you have specific questions, you can write to me. When you hit a plateau, what happens is you might have to start looking at japa, meditation. What is the time that you're spending? Are you able to get quality time in meditation? Do we do some, we saw yajna, dana, tapa, the austerity itself in terms of our, mauna, vrat, etc. So there are a lot of things that intervention needs to be done if we need to get to the next level and we feel that there is no further progress at the current level. But generally, repeated shravanam, that is listening itself, should give you substantial benefit, which is good enough for a person who is still very, very active in the karma yoga field, dealing with the panchanatma, that is profession, etc. So the only option is to increase the time in japa, meditation, etc., which will definitely help. And twice a day, 10 minutes may help better than 20 minutes once a day. But we all have the time constraints also, so we have to see how best we can do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. Is there any other question from anybody else? Okay, I think we don't have anything else. So do write to me if you're interested, and we will meet next week, 25th, on Sunday, 8:25. Hari Om.